Hello, everybody. So, I am got a couple of CAD jobs, and I've got them laid out so I can show you. So this one, we're doing a bezel set. That's this scan because I wanted to make sure I got a good bezel lip for it. It's got like a weird corner, and the other is just an oval with a basket setting. So that's job number one. Job number two is this. I did this stone layout like a month ago just for them to find about what size stones would fit, and then they want this kind of shank, but now we actually have the stones that I measured to go in here, so we'll probably have to change all this up, and then it's got like a double prong style, so we'll do 2 prongs there, 2 prongs there, and then 1 prong on the outside, so there'll be 5 prongs in each corner, I think. So we're going to do that one. And the next one we're going to do, we have this ring that I made a while ago. They want kind of a round baguette, 3 rounds baguette round matching band for this. So we got that one. And then the last job is this. So we've got a emerald cut ruby, and an emerald cut purple stone. I don't know quite what that one is, but we're going to do a 3 halo deal for this. And then looks like they want some stones in the shank. I've not been able to get people in the store to really start drawing yet, but so that's all we have to go on here as far as what it looks like. And let's see. So that is my pile to catch up for on the weekend. And I also added this little thing to the screen, which is showing my keyboard movement. So talk about that just for a second. Let me go to a large camera here so you can see my hand. And I'm going to center it more and move the microphone out of the way. Oh, that's as big as I can make it. Okay, so this is how I like to work. I don't like to take my hands and move to the keyboard. So this is my roller mouse that comes from my programming days. I like using the roller mouse because then I can, you can't really see well, you can see this is zooming in and out. So that's a scroll wheel. This is a mouse. So the mouse is moving over here, and then I've got clicks. So when I'm programming, I don't like having to do this. I don't like reaching for I'd rather just keep my hands right here and do everything. When I'm doing CAD, I want my hands to be right here doing everything. But part of that is I look very different doing CAD than what other people do. So my idea was to give you kind of a bird's eye view of my hands while you're seeing, let me get that off of there, while you're seeing what actually is happening. So right now I'm moving my mouse, and you see the mouse moving. When I pop up when you see the right click, I'm moving the viewport with my mouse. The rest of the time over here, I'm doing it with the space mouse. Okay, so a lot of times when I'm talking to people, I'm doing it one-handed because I'm drinking a cup of coffee or doing something else. And then I go to this, and people are like, how's he moving it? So this is a 3D Connection space mouse. And then this little sled is my keyboard that I can move out of the way and pull out the Wacom and plop down. And now I have the Wacom, and the number pad is what I do for 3D code. So that's why this is on an old cutting mat. It's just a sled for me to move it around because I move things around a lot. But you can also see, let me focus more on the mouse. So when this is a Swift Point Z mouse, they don't make this one anymore, but they make one very similar. The one similar to it doesn't have where I can pick it up and change what program I'm in and put it back down, and now it's using that program. So right now, I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but it says I'm in Rhino. And then things like pulling up my menus, I push this button, Okay, that pulls up this menu, and you can see I didn't even see what it's actually programmed to. So Control S, and then if I want this menu, that was, you hit escape to get out of that, and then it's Control W. If I want this one, it's Control A and escape over Control D. But my mouse accepts gestures, so if I hold this button and move it, I can pull up different menus just like that. And then for the gumball, when I relocate the gumball, that's this button, and then I move it over, that is relocate. I can relocate the gumball. Up is aligned to C-plane, down is aligned to object. So, and then I have this button, which down is cut, over is paste, right is copy. So I just loaded that. I'll load this one in the clipboard, copy, and then I can paste it over again, and now I'll have two of them. So I have cut, copy, and paste right there. Other things, if this was a group, make that a group. Now this is the whole group. Sometimes you see me say sub-object select. Well, that is Control-Shift-Click, and that is this mouse button rather than, let's see if you can see it. So this mouse button does the whole group. This tiny mouse button right in front of it is sub-object select, and I want that. Oh, that grabbed an edge. But with this little overlay, you can kind of see what is actually being pressed when I'm doing all this, and you'll have a bird's eye view of kind of seeing that I don't do this. If I need to type 0, I can type 0 from my mouse. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. I accidentally turned gumball snapping on and turned that back off. Okay, so let's undo all that. And we've got this stone, which is going to be this bezel set. And we've got a round going next to it. So the oval emerald is a, let's go ahead and drop in a oval cut that is 8.07. And we can just drop that there for now. I went ahead and did a scan for the sapphire rather than using my cushion because I want to get a nice, if this was prong set, I would just used the block. But because this is going to be bezel in 18 karat, I want it to be a thin bezel that matches kind of perfect. Let's see, what else? I want to move the microphone back just so I'm not talking quietly and I don't know it. All right. So for this job, I'm going to need from my library of parts, I want the open shank because this shank is not going to go all the way across. It's going to stop here and stop there. So that is shank open. I'm going to grab that, throw it into the file, import. I will need a head. So I'm going to grab head for the round stone, and oh, I meant to update that template to work with any size, any shape stone. Can I do it? Can I use it? I think so. Well, even if I can't, it'll give me a starting point. Keep current block. So that block is outdated. That needs to be fixed. So we've got that and that. And then we just need the bezel wire for doing the bezel. Import that file. And then this is going to be a size 7. So I'm going to say finger rail, size 7. And grab this, scale 2D off of 0. Going from there to there. All that history will update. And then we're going to have this guy over here. Oh, Did I do sub object select? Or that's not grouped. I need to grab the whole thing and drag it over. Okay, so that will be the head, and I need to position this in space, so I'm going to isolate it and set all my viewports to this. And I guess what I try and look for, let me leave the stone sizes up. So we've got a 6.3 by 4.45 by 3.81. So I'm just going to make a box at the center. And 6.32 by 4.45 by 3.81. Okay, so that is our box that this needs to fit in. And I'm going to set my gumball back to C-plane and rotate 90 degrees there. This I'm going to put onto, I like a purplish layer for doing this for some reason. I just find it's easier to see. So first things first, let's, I messed with that gumball earlier. Let's just roughly rotate it into shape. Oh, it needs to be the right side up. And just a quick first pass. And then we're going to move this to position 0, 0, 0. And the block can go to 0, 0, 0. All right, so on this block, I'm going to set, I have this where I can set it to wireframe mode. And I'm going to set it to wireframe mode here. And I'm going to set it to wireframe mode here. And on this one, I'll be able to see if it's sticking through. And then I'm going to lock the box so it doesn't ever get into the way. But we can still see, well, yeah, we can still see it. So this not aligning at the bottom, that's no big deal because I use a little sticky wax on the top. Oh, we don't even know if it's level yet. Let's leave it like that and just run through our viewports. So this I'm going to rotate, and I'm going to pick kind of the middle spot of the girdle. And I'm going to come over here and kind of pick the middle spot of the girdle and then put that down to 0. That was the left side. Let's check the right side. And if I pick the midpoint on that, so that is very close. I would normally pick like somewhere right there. So let's split the difference and just kick it up just half of what I normally would have, because we're averaging out the difference between the left and the right. So then we'll go to front view and kind of do the same thing. And this is the skinnier side of the stone. So this is 0. Let's go down just a little bit and kind of look at that. Okay, and then we'll check the back view. Let's see if we would have done anything different. So pick kind of the middle part of that girdle, and that's kind of the midpoint on that one as well. So leave that alone. And then reset this back to 0, 0, 0, 0. And I can make this box, unlock the box, make this box wireframe here as well. So now let's go to the top and take a look at this. Ooh, that's kind of speedy. Now it's looking like our box, my calipers, are not like 1/10 of a millimeter over on each side. And that's kind of fine because we sprayed this in a dust to make it not reflective. So this should be slightly larger than when we measured it clean with the calipers. That's fine. Doesn't matter that much. Let's look and see if we can get this. So now I'm going to rotate off of center. And I'm going to try and just going to come out here so I have more control over this and just kind of do it till it looks centerish, and then we'll check the bottom view, take that box and put it into wireframe. That does kind of look centered already. I think that's all the views. So get our left back. Okay. So I think that's centered. And we can move this up just a little bit. And that's like the sticky wax that it was on a dop stick as it went. So that is going to be our scan. I'm going to reset all my viewports here. Okay. So now this box can kind of go away. I'm done with it. So delete that. And then I want to go to my top view here and look in shaded mode and get a outline for that bezel wire that we have over here that I pulled in. So I want the bezel wire to be able to flow around here and make a seat. So let's go and let me think here. I'm going to do my little join copy trick here. Just to edit it first with symmetry before I go to breaking symmetry and making this, because I need to trace the actual thing for this bezel to work. So I'm going to give that quad symmetry. And then I'm going to take this one and say curve, this one, what is it? Curve through polyline and make it a degree. I think I'm going to make it a degree 3 because I'm going to need to make a lot of local changes. I don't want it to be smooth. I want it to be accurate. And this stone has like slight changes. So I'm going to change it to a degree 3 and delete input. No. Okay. So now this, and this is junk that I'm just going to group and hide because I'm not, I need this guy not to be in a group. Okay. And the group, what happened? Four curves added to the selection. Where is the join copy? Should be 5. I did a... Okay, mirror. Stop. So now these 4. Join copy. And I added a button to my mouse. I just keep forgetting that I added a button to my mouse. Okay, this one is our curve through polyline, degree 3. Okay. So now this, and this are a group that is my chunk layer. And this is my control. Okay, so now I have symmetric editing while I do this. And make sure this stone is like zeroed out all the way around. And another thing that helps is if I just put this above the stone so I can kind of see it when I'm when I'm working in a shaded mode, I can still see the curve as it goes around. So that's a pretty good fit all the way, except for these corners. All right. So now that junk that I made, this stuff, we'll go ahead and... Did I not group it? Oh man, I need a coffee. Well, all of this can go away because we're done with it. Delete that. So now we just have this curve that we can take and do some minor adjustments to it on a side-by-side basis. And turn lock off. I ran out of coffee this morning. I have not had coffee today, and it is not good. Doesn't need to be perfect. We just want it to be as close as possible because we're going to use a very thin... well, one, we don't want our setter spending a ton of time trying to match this. Two, we want to use a very thin, pretty bezel wall and not have to make it so thick that he cuts it out. And it's like, I have a scanner. Why wouldn't I do this? Right, that's looking good. That's looking good. This corner is, I mean, it's just this corner is just like missing a section compared to all the other corners. Okay. So now I'm just going to take our little bezel rail and come over here and position this over to there, and we've got a fat belly because it's not a diamond, and we've got a fat girdle, so this and this need to go up, and he's going to hammer from this direction on here and make this seal over this edge, and then he has a big flat right here that he will pre-polish and then polish again, and then you've got this really pretty flat that he doesn't have to sit there and cut it and dull up his cutter every time he hits a stone. This is a sapphire, so it'll dull his knife, but you know, an emerald, it will, I don't know, destroy the emerald. So that's the idea. We give him enough that when this bends down, kind of like this, not quite that much, but it'll bend down something like that, and then he's got this pre-polished lip. Barely any of the stone is covered up, and I actually may have made it just a little bit too tall, because all he has to do is just get it to there. So from there to there, not that much movement. And let's put this down at the girdle, set Z to here, and let's see what a sweep one looks like. And if we're going to have enough, if it's tall enough all the way around, we've got plenty of height over here. How are we doing over here? We've got plenty of height. I think that's going to make for a good bezel. And we'll use this to cut the base of the seat out, but let me go ahead and continue this curve. So we want to go like that. Oh, not that far. I want to go like that. And then we'll do continue curve. So we need to be below the stone. So if we go down here, like 0.4 of a millimeter, that should be the base of it. Give it a corner, point. And then we want something along this line. So I'm going to use the along this line to there. And there's our bezel. Let's check the corners and make sure that it's not overlapping itself. If so, what's the thickness on this? So that's a millimeter, 1.2. That's not bad. We can scooch it up just a little bit. Points on, take that and move it towards here. So I'm going to say move. I'm going to hit the tab. Oh, I hit the tab. Get that up maybe to there. And I mean, this is just a rough shape. We'll finish this up, but my wall thickness is only going to be 0.4 of a millimeter. So yeah, that's why we do all of that now. It's probably going to be an angle like that. So let me go ahead and make a layer for all this. So create a layer. I'm going to call this bezel. And I'll go ahead and turn that off. Well, we'll hide that first. Put that onto the surface. And then this curve and this curve are the controls. And that needs to go onto the gems layer. Okay. So now we can take the controls, select objects, and the stone, and group those together. So when we move them, they move as a unit. And, you know, that has history on it. We'll follow wherever it ends up going. That'll follow it around. Okay, so that's one piece of this job made. So I'm just going to move it. I'm going to move it off of 0 for now, move off of 0, and we'll just park it on one of these little guide planes that I have set up. And go back to the file. And now for this. So I made this to work with rounds, and then I had the idea afterwards where, oh, I could just pretty easily make this into an oval, and have not had time to go back and do it. But really the problem is I don't think I need any of these, like in the long run. I'm just going to delete them. Hey, I need this, but I don't need that. I'm definitely freestyling here. I'm going to move that. Off of that point to there. Okay. And I'm going to take and delete the round stone. It's okay to delete all that. Happen. This ungroup. This and this can go away. Delete. Okay. These prongs can go away. And so now we've got this and this. And so what we want to do is replace this round with a oval. So that is pretty easy to do. Our size on this is 8.081? No, 8.07. So I'm going to change the length on this to an 8.07. Okay. And then this curve, I'm going to make that have a y of 8.07. Lock off. 8.07. Okay. Now the rest of that, where is seat control? That can go away. Oh, I probably deleted something I wanted to keep. I did. No, there it is. Okay. So that can go away. And that can go away. Okay. So I'm going to offset this by a, let's see, offset. Let's check this against our stone real quick. So I'm going to move that from there to there. And let's turn off a bunch of other stuff so we can see. Oh, we imported this in. We said its width is 8.07, 6.1. So we need to shrink that. Did that do anything? Yes, okay. Why did it change? Okay, I'm gonna make this 6.1. It changed. There we go. And then the height, let's check the height. Measure from there to there. That is 3.077, and it needs to be 3.7. So I'm going to scale this. I know it's 3.07 right now. We'll call it 3.08. Needs to go to 3.7. So I'm just going to say I want it to be a ratio of that much bigger to what it is right now. And now when I measure that, it should be 3 point. Snap the point. Stupid near. Won't snap the point. So 3.699 rounding error because anyways. Okay, so that's our height. Let's turn everything back on. What did I do? Turn all of layout off? Yes. And let's set that up to there. Do I need... I don't need a cutter for this right now. So then this guy, we need to also make that 6.1. And then this is going to be a sweep one. What does it want? The rail first? Yeah, rail, and then curve. But I'm not going to do that yet. I remembered. Don't do that yet. So this goes up to there. Need to group these, so I move them together. And I want this kind of point here to be here. Block, no. I want this kind of point to be right there, but down a little bit. So that'll protect the girdle from, this is an emerald, but any stone, that'll protect the girdle from kind of side glances. Okay. So that's set up. I need an offset loose that is, let's say, 1 millimeter off. And this is going to go onto the seat. Where should we put it? Seat curves. And then both of these to flow, surf, preserve structure from there. No preserve structure, just regular flow, just plain old flow, nothing special set on it, from there to there, and then from there to there. Okay. And then we can tidy up these. So both of these, let me turn off base. So both of these need to be a little bit longer. The top one a little bit longer than the bottom one. Okay, so that's kind of making that an oval. And you know what? Let's put our stone. These are going to flow rigid. Flow this, and this. That needs to flow curve rigid. No stretching. Rigid from the base of this to the base of that. This is where I want to do the sweep. I didn't want to do it back here because I don't want to build up history just for, I could put it out here. So I'm going to say sweep one, that rail, that curve, and like that. So that curve goes on to the seat control. That curve goes on to seat control. And then we are working with this down here. So when I flowed this one over to the finger rail, I did it as rigid. So it's not going to resize itself. And then the bottom one, I just flowed regular, which it is going to resize itself. So depending on the shape, the length of that plane versus the length of this finger, and I did put a finger rail in here, correct? This should be a size 7. Size 7, okay. Well, yeah. So that changed. So I just need to figure out where, if I'm looking at this from the front view, I kind of want a gentle slope here. Where I can have like, I want that kind of shape for the side profile of this, right? So this base is just too long, so I'm going to grab it and bring it in. It's not bringing in. Oh, I broke history somehow. Tragic. Okay. Oh, I love that. I really wish Rhino would give me a couple of little commands to make working with locked children easier, so I don't accidentally break it. It makes it very difficult to do some stuff where you lose track for 1 second and locked children is off and then it messes up. So this is flow surface rigid from there to there, and the base one is flow regular. And the base one did not flow regular. I've got preserve structure tick, don't I? I can't see because the camera's in the way of the end of flow regular, preserve structure. Okay. Preserve structure is off now. Okay, so now when I'm looking at it, I want base can go away. I want this to kind of match up with update children was off. I didn't break history. How did update children get off? History update all. Okay, I have no idea how history update got turned off. But good to know I didn't actually break it and just... Okay, so that's lining up about where I want it to be. And now we can do this one. Okay, so that's kind of the shape. And then we can check it in this viewport. And we can see that that is way too long. So we're going to grab that and bring that in. And we can make some minor adjustments in a second, but that is kind of the base of where we're going to be. So I'm going to hide this for a minute. Actually, let me go ahead and organize that onto my layers. That is the surf. Okay. Hide that for a second. Hide that for a second. And now these guys, we are just going to flow regular. No preserved structure, no nothing, onto there and there. And then from there to there. Okay, and this gives us the start for making that bottom rail. This also is a degree 3, so if I want to make the top of it not completely flat, like I don't want to make it completely flat, but I don't want to make it as round as the bottom, you can do this, and that will update it as well. So turn head control off. Oops, we need these to be on the curves layer. Set layer, curves, and now we can turn that off. All right, so that's just 4, and I'm going to need a little more definition than that. So I'm going to say tween curves, and I'm going to need 1 there, and 1 there, and 2 there. And I don't think I need 1 on top. I think I want it to be a little bit more round at the top. So we can grab those guys and make sure those all are on our seat curves layer. And then I am just going to loft, which this is a loft that's not going to pop up any options because it has a little dash in front of it. We're going to grab that. And this is set to loft loose with an automatic seam. And do I want it to be closed? Yes. Okay. And there's my base rail. I did end up putting my toolbars in the shared folder. So from the last video I did of how to get my stuff and use it, all of these toolbars are in, but this is, putting the dash in front of a command makes it not do the pop-up. So if I have something that I use all the time and I don't want to have to click enter, I just want to do it all through the command line. Loft is like that. Loft, pause to select the curves. I want to use the natural seam of them. Enter, and the type is loose, and then I don't finish it out because sometimes I want it to be closed going all the way around. Sometimes I want to leave an open side to it. So the last one I get to choose, but the rest of this, I should probably give this the name loft, put dash in front of it, loft natural loose, so that when I go to, and a big problem I don't change any of Rhino's commands, like the way they do things, but if you see anything on my mouse, loft is not set to normal loft. I have it do natural on the seam selection. The default is automatic. There's a reason I use natural, is because I try and line up all my curves so they have a natural seam, because that tends to break history less than if I have like one curved seam over here and another curved seam over here, and then you edit it too much with history. Rhino can't refigure out what that automatic was. It's better the first time than the second time. Pretty much for every history command. The first time it runs, it's better than the than subsequent runs. So just keeping it natural means that my history gets preserved for a lot longer than it otherwise would have. So now if we're looking at this, we do have that kind of gentle slope. We have that kind of gentle slope. I like that. Let's check the thickness of this to make sure we didn't measure from there to there. And that's 1.06. We can make that a little bit smaller. We just take this, and bump it down by 0.1, and that should bring it to 9/10. So 9/6, whatever. Okay, we did size our stone, so we know the girdle's not going to poke through the bottom. I try and keep it above this middle ring, so I don't accidentally have a culet hanging through. And that is good. Okay. Oh, for the prongs, let's see. So for the prong control, I have these two surfaces that need to flow. They need to flow rigid, stretch onto this curve. Okay. These were the old ones. They can go away. And I'm going to group those. And then my prongs from that head template file. Let's see. Turn all this on. Okay, this guy. I'm going to flow this with preserved structure from there to there, and from there to there. Put those on the right layer. Oh, wrong button. What did I click? Add guide. Okay. Move that to prong surface and group those. And I think what I'm going to do is kind of shift these prongs around so this can match up with the bezel. I think that's how it's drawn a little bit too. Like, you're going to shift these two prongs over and then have, so it doesn't get in the way with the bezel. I don't know that it would get in the way with the bezel, but I kind of don't want to have to deal with this. I can just grab this and put it in space, but I kind of don't want to have to deal with making any tweaks to this profile in space. And it's also not going to match the finger rail, but we'll just Boolean cut that out. This and this. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it, and I'm going to move it over. Okay, so I've got another alignment curve, and give me this. I'm going to copy it and paste it and move that. We'll set XY to that point. Okay, and then we can just say this and this. Flow rigid without stretch from the bottom of that curve. I'll move that curve to the bottom, but I want to use the bottom for now. From the bottom of that curve to there, and then we just move that guy down to the bottom. And let's check and see how this looks. All right, so this, and now all of this needs to be grouped. Group that. Let's hide the shank so I can kind of see what this. And I can hide this. I don't want to see it. I'm just kind of looking at this and this. They are equally spaced apart now. That can get closer together. I can shape that up a little bit too. I don't know what I'm gonna do here. This is like a weird ring to make. Okay, he has to be able to get in and hammer onto this lip. So one of these needs to go up, one needs to go down. I guess I could bring that down a little bit. Can't bring this down to the same level as that. So the bezel has to be taller. I can't have it be down here because then this wall would be glued to it and he wouldn't be able to hammer the bezel from that side. So bezel has to be taller. Just there's no real choice there. So I can just take and bring that up some. We don't necessarily want that stone to dig into the wall though. So give each one of these a little bump. Sub-object select, points on. We'll just bezel cut that out and soften that edge again in 3D coat. Okay. Do we want to taper this in more? Let's see what it looks like without that point even, which means we need to bring that out a little bit more. Do away with that point because we're probably going to cut the whole bottom off of it anyway. So I'm going to clean up just a little bit here, turn that off. Weird ring, man. Okay, and the way this works, if I just take that and drag it down that way, the prongs move, I think, the wrong way. Yep. If I take that and move it that way, the prongs will move to the other side. And I put these little knots here because if I want it to be like on a 45-degree angle, that's what these dots are. It's just this curve divided by 8. Yeah. And then like that's a quad of the stone, that's a quadrant of the stone, that's a quad of the stone, and that's the same quad on either side. So quad is the most left, north, south, or west position. That's where quad is. I can edit it over here and look at it over here and kind of get a better feel for this. Take these prongs and mirror them across. And let's get our shank into place while we're at it. So take that and that to the other side. And then to we turn shank control off, we hit it. Okay, so we don't need to see junk and we want to... Now I'm thinking this 18 karat sapphire, carat emerald, I think we make the shank a little bit thicker. Maybe be like a quarter, which is a half. And then for the top, or do we just make it 3 millimeters? Do another quarter, and then for the top, have it, let's see how wide that is. Oh, I would love for that to kind of pinch in there. Let's just make it tall at first. Oh, lock off, make it tall, lock back on. And I'm just going to make that taper up quicker by moving this profile curve up, up. Needs to be a little bit taller. And I'd love if I could just pinch it right here, but it's not going to match up very well. I can't move the prongs all the way over there. I like to have these hug the shank. What if we fan it a little bit? We could fan it. Okay, so instead of pinching, we're going to fan. Now, something I'm noticing is, so we've got symmetry between each side. Let me turn the head control back on. I think I want to take all of this and just move it over. So that it's more centered between the shank. So that's about at that edge. I mean, that's super close to perfect, but okay, let's look at that and see how that looks. Okay, so we fan, that works. We can also take this bottom prong and bend it over a little bit, but I don't think that would look good. We need to make the prongs a little bit longer. So go back to multi-mode view here. See those. And do we want to kick them in a little bit? Sure. Kick them in a little bit more. And the top we need to bring in as well, so it matches up with, make sure, yep, I grabbed stuff I didn't want to grab when I did that. All right, we want to make sure the prong bites enough of the stone. So bring that in. Okay, that looks like about a third. And they said on the notes that they wanted to have 15 gauge prongs, so that's 15 gauge is pretty heavy. Like 1.4. If anybody knows what 15 gauge is in millimeters, put it in the chat. But this is going to be smaller than. I don't want to see the junk, and I want to be able to select the curve to measure the size on it. So let's take, make sure lock is on. So right now this is 1.1. I need to get to 1.4. Gosh. So I'm going to scale 2D with lock children on. 1.4 divided by 1.1. Nobody can look up what that is. Okay, so we made the top of those that big, and then we don't want the bottom to go that big, so we can scale these. Instead of 1.4 over 1.1, we can do like 1.3 over 1.1. Give that a boost and use the same scale there. 1.8. It's not 1.8 for 15 gauge. Millimeter to gauge. Move to a new window. Move tab to a new window. Okay. So millimeter for 15 gauge is 1.449. I'm using 1.4. That's going to be close enough. 1.8 is like 13 gauge, which I don't even think I have. I think I give them a couple of sticks of like 10 gauge and 12 gauge that they can draw down to any of the in-between stuff. And then I really start stocking metal at 15 gauge for wire. And then I've got all the gauges down to 30. But they just have like one stick to play with. And sometimes it becomes sizing stock, and sometimes it gets drawn down into other wire. Okay, back to this. So we did embiggen our prongs. That's about 1.4. We did embiggen the base. I wanted to taper it down to round. I think that's still fine. There. Oh, should be happy with that. But this is emerald. So where there's an emerald, there is extra leverage. We make them extra tall. Even in 18 karat, we make them extra tall so that they have an easier time bending them. Okay, I think the prongs are done. I don't know what else I can do there. I don't know what else I can do with this bezel surface. The shank is the shank. I mean, this is a weird ring. I think it'll be pretty, but it's a weird ring that I don't know what else I can do to it. If you're looking at this, I guess, can I make the bezel a little bit bigger to take up that space? What's the difference there? 1/4 millimeter? No, I can't, because no matter how wide I make it right here, the light is going to bounce down. This is going to be in shadow. I need to make like this edge wider. They'll be able to see this edge. They won't be able to see once it goes down this slope. So I don't think there's anything I can do there. Okay. I'm saying job done. I'm saying job done. So I'm going to run the restroom. I'm going to save this off, and then we'll come back and do 3D coat. And now you guys have seen my hand and the Swift Point Z mouse. Swift Point Z. So they don't make this anymore, but they do have what's it called? So Tracer is a very lightweight version of this, but the Creator mouse. So the Creator, like if you look at what this has that this one doesn't, is pre-made gaming profiles. I do game with this mouse. I made my own profiles, no big deal. It won't have the OLED display, which is this thing that lets me pick it up and see what profile I'm on and then put it back down. It won't have the gyroscope and the tilting feet and the OLED that makes that happen. Everything else is the same. So I've had a lot of mice with big buttons on them. Or not big buttons, but just like a lot of buttons. They usually feel mushy. These don't. These are really... I've got noise cancellation on, so you probably can't hear like how clicky these are, but these are very good buttons. Like, there's not one bad button on here. Oh, I told it to do things. I don't know what I told it to do. So you've got like, that's M1. That's like a second M1. That's my sub-object select. My middle finger is not that flexible. I don't get a lot of usage out of this one. I do get a usage out of this one push down, but there's also a pull up. I don't get a lot of use out of that. I do use pull up on this one some. And then you've got these two buttons and those two buttons, plus gestures. You can use like two buttons together means one thing, but one button on its own means another. Like there's gestures, there's, it's a great mouse. But they made this one for productivity, so it's going to come with profiles for doing all this kind of stuff. Make your own. I thought it would take me a while, like when I was dreaming up what all I could do with this mouse. It was the most intuitive thing to use. Like before, I'd have like a big 12 button array on the side of a mouse and have to remember which button did which thing. This is very much intuitive. Like once you learn that, like the copy, paste, cut, once you kind of learn that diagonal thing, you know that this button means a certain thing. And then the motion that you put with it, you will very quickly associate with that thing. Like I never accidentally paste when I'm going to copy. I know that that's copy. And I know that that's paste. It's very intuitive once you... so even though I have a million things on this mouse, between multiple different profiles, I never have to stop and think, well, what is that thing again? It's incredibly intuitive. So yeah, it's missing a couple of things, but they just said packing all of this stuff, which a lot of people weren't using, into the mouse was costing them a lot of money and was difficult to manufacture. So they went here. You lose the LED in the thing, it's off. It's been off since day one because I don't want a warm spot in the bottom of my palm, so no big deal losing that. Yeah, it's a great little mouse. Okay, so I am going to probably turn this off so I can see my... it's right here hanging off the monitor. I can't read the end of my commands anymore. So I'm probably going to turn this off so I can see, but I will leave this guy up so you guys can like see what's actually happening. And Oz, make me a note to re-export my export my options. Well, I'll just do it. No, just make a note for me to do it later, please. And then I'll put that into the share that I talked about in the last video. Okay, I'm gonna say 5 minutes. I'm gonna put the BRB screen up and use the restroom, and then we'll come back and we'll be doing the rest of this into 3D Coat. So see you in a few. Actually, we'll just go here. Okay. So now I can move the webcam out of the way. And I just saved and hit a bunch of stuff so it's not in the way. I forgot to bring in my sprue. It's no longer in my template file. And I need to figure out why that is doing that. But when I say history update everything, that will align itself with the bottom of the shank. So we're saved. We're ready to go. So to take this into 3D Coat, I'm going to turn lock off. I'm going to join that up. This is already a solid piece. These prongs are solid pieces. Everything else is solid. Select open surface. Actually, go to the mouse. That just needs to be capped. And we are off to 3D Coat. So I'm going to open up 3D Coat here, and well, I guess I can leave the small cam on for a second so you can see, because I don't really care about seeing. Let's see. It just has to dangle off the front here of the monitor to be able to get. I don't have a good there. So we're going to do voxel sculpting, and I'm going to bring in that temp file and move that out of the way and grab the Wacom. And the pen. So we want to import as a child, scale 2250, and hit apply. First time you try to, yes, always yes. They trick me into reading it every time. The answer is always yes, and I read it. So we do not have X symmetry, but we do have Y symmetry. So I'm going to go to the shank. I'm going to say symmetry on the, it just said they don't have X. Put symmetry on the Y axis and go ahead and merge in, I think we just go ahead and merge in everything. Oh, we didn't bring in a cutter to cut out the bottom of that bezel. Which our base, make sure lock is off. Oh, that's fine. Actually, undo that. I'm going to cap it first and then bring it in. That way it won't, history won't change everything in case I need to grab something else. Export to 3D Coat. And go back here. So I'm going to go to make another layer and then just drag and drop that temp file back in. And click apply and go back to fill. Okay, so we'll save that to do at the end, but pretty much everything else can get brought in here, except I need to subtract the gems from the bezel, but not the prong. So I should have put those on different layers and thought about that. I'm going to leave that for the end. Cutters for the seats, that needs to subtract from the prongs. We can leave that for the end. Sprue. Okay, so I'm going to merge the seat with the shank. I'm going to merge the prongs with the shank. And the bezel, I'm going to go ahead and merge with the shank. And now I can go about filling in little areas here. So, and I can go overboard because I do have a center cutter. Turn steady stroke off. So for this, for just growing it, I like to have a little bit of extra metal right there, almost as like a little printing support. Otherwise, I'm going to have to put printer support right there, and then it's really hard to clean up. But if I just flare this a little bit, it gives some extra strength to those first few layers. And then I can flare this side a little bit. Smooth is being a little aggressive. Just give that a little bit. And now as it's layer by layer printing, you've got that little bit of extra support, which means you're not going to need to put an actual support on it. And then we'll just smooth that into the prong. This I'm going to be aggressive with because I've got a little tiny hole there that doesn't need to be there. So I'm just going to be a little aggressive just to close that up. And I probably could put a window in here. Should I put a window in there? I have to go back to Rhino, and that sounds like something I don't want to do. I should have probably thought of that, though. It's weird having a window on one side, but they're two different setting styles. I think that's going to be fine. I'm not sure. Anybody in chat want to vote? I need to be looking at chat instead of looking at myself. Hello, Ganesh. If you guys have preferences, and I want to close up this hole too, so if you guys have preferences, if I should cut a window or not cut a window, I'm voting no, not on aesthetic reasons. This is a stock job, but still, I don't like going back to Rhino. I'd get to this point. I've already saved the file. Nobody has an opinion, then we're not going to do it. Okay, and we can soften that up if we want. Now for cutters. Well, we know this base needs to subtract from that shank, so we get that, and then we can soften this back up. So I'm just going to make this on smooth. Just smooth out that edge. That edge. This is going to be on the finger, so we don't need like hard edges on the finger. That's less comfortable to wear. Okay, so now the gems that I should have split into two separate layers. Let's take a look at this. There is a cutoff, and I think there's a split. Cutoff, slice, quick pick. Well, there's not a split. So what I'll do is I'll take and clone this, clone, and then go to cut off and cut off the side that we don't need. Okay, so now we got this. Now we've got this. There is a So I want to subtract this from it so I get like kind of like the perfect seat. To get the perfect seat, you don't actually subtract the right size from the thing. You say extrude and 0.08. And I find that anytime I'm trying to make a two-tone part and I want them to match, you have to put in what do you call it? Tolerance, a mating tolerance. So if I extrude this by 0.08, you're going to see it get 0.08 whatever units fluffier. Maybe it's 0.08%. And then I'm going to take and subtract from shank open, and you're going to see now that, you know what, I should copy and subtract that. Copy and subtract from, because I may want to do another pass on this. So you can see where it actually cut its seat. And then this bottom edge, I might just want to take and round over. So let me go back to shank. We do not want any symmetry for this because it's not a very symmetric stone. And go to scrape. And so I'm just going to scrape this edge down. And that's always weird going around corners. So I'm going to deal with the flat first. And then do this flat. Just take that down a little bit. And go ahead and overdo the corners, because I really don't want that stone to touch in the corner. I want the stone to be supported on the edges. I didn't mean to do that one. I really want the stone to be supported on the edges and have the corners kind of float free. This isn't that sensitive of a stone. It's, well, might be a tanzanite. It's purple. Could be an amethyst, tanzanite, or sapphire. So tanzanite, we definitely wouldn't want anything touching in the corners because that's a very sensitive stone. But anything else is kind of fine. So now I'm going to switch back over to fill, and I'm going to make this, just soften that up. Give that a little smooth. We'll smooth that down. We'll smooth this down. Fill in that little... Scrape is weird going around corners because it wants to make a planar thing, and that just doesn't work in corners. Smooth that down. And I did not scrape that corner. I don't think I scraped that corner. Okay, so I've removed material from the corners, and now that I'm not going to copy and subtract from again because I'm done kind of, but you can see it barely touched it when I subtracted it the second time. So I've got long flats all the way around that will support the stone. I've got recessed areas on the corner of the pavilion junctions. And that stone should just, he should be able to just run like a little beating tool around the edge to open it up. Stone falls in, he comes back, hammers it down, and now you've got this kind of uniform flat that's going to be high polish, and it will be a very pretty thin bezel that's very, very secure. Is that it? Oh, we turn our gems on and we put those onto a white layer, even though one's an emerald, one's a sapphire. And we go like this, and we hit print screen for the picture. And I put that on the job bag so we can see what it looks like. We can associate the right job with the right thing when they all come off the printer. Move that over there to done. Gems off, sprue on. I didn't do a smooth all on this. I'm just going to do it once, twice, and then switch those over to surface mode. Our shank open, we're going to decimate by 90%. 105 on the triangle count. And we'll take a look at that. And we do have flat areas have bigger triangles, and these corners have tiny triangles, so that's good. It looks funny here because I have high contrast mode on, so any facet change, but the print, this will be smooth as butter. And then for the sprue, I decimate that down by 98%, so I have about 3,500 triangles, because that is mostly flats with a little bit of round. And I am going to save this out. So I don't want to show actual, my customers' names are in actual job names. So I don't want to show that. So I'm going to pop this up for 30 seconds while I save this file out, and I will be right back. Okay. So now you guys got to see the little, my setup when I'm on the microphone was in the way, but you guys got to see the setup of how I do 3D coat with the Space Mouse one hand, number pad, and I'm going to go ahead and chuck this back out of the way and put my pen away and get this. I like having this on a sled. So I'm going to turn the cam off so I can get this out of my way now and see the command line. And this, we double check that we did save. We did a save. So now we can just exit. No. Okay. Let's go to the next one in the list, which is this guy. Kind of a weird model. So this is all reference, but let's see how close they got to getting me the stones that I said would fit this model. So 1.6 on the rounds, that is going to work. And then for this, we've got, I said 4x2, and they came 4x2x1. So we can just make the length of this 0.8, and the width on it 2. Let's see, the smallest one is 2.12. Okay. So that should have updated these, and if I undo, we should see those get fatter, and that one we didn't change. So these guys we are going to put onto, so I've made a new layer, and I'm going to try and start putting my my blocks onto the block layer. So, well, stone blocks. Select block instance. I'm going to put those onto stones. And if I need a spacer, but which I won't on this one because there's so much space. And then for stone layout, these guys are for stone layout. That onto stone layout. And now I have this reference. They like this shank, so I need to just make sure that when I make the shank that it kind of matches up with that. But we don't need to see that for now. Let's go ahead and drag all the parts in I will need a shank open because it's going to have that pinch on the end and not be continuous all the way around. So I'm going to import that file. I will need a sprue on this, import that file. Keep the current block. I don't know what's causing that. I need to figure that out. What else? What else? I might want my head template. Might want my head template. It's doing the same thing for this one. What else? What else? What else? And I'll probably need the another set of prongs. So I'm going to bring in another prong template. All right, and our finger size on this is going to be, let's see, looking at the job here. Come on, gotta have the finger size somewhere. Let's do a 7.5. Scale 2D off of 0. All the templates we brought in are updated. Let's see. Add the sprue for right now. I don't think I want to deal with the shank first, so I'm gonna hide that. Do we want to do the base of... Do we want to deal with the base of this first? Probably. Okay. Yeah, let's deal with the head first. Select children. And let's just hide all of that. We'll delete that and use the template version. So this stone needs to be 6.33. And I build this template off of a 6. So I just come over here and say that's the bottom view. Reset my viewports. Scale 3D off of this point. And we need to go to 6.33. It's a 6 right now, so we're going to scale by that percentage. And then we can bring this up because we want it to be a little bit taller than a normal 3-stone head. Something here. Yeah, a little bit taller than normal. I might want to go for 5.5 millimeters. So it's at 496. So just bump that another 0.5. All right. And our prongs, we want to be between these points. So have like double prongs. And then the back of the prong is going to be what this round sets into. So I'm going to grab one of those just to bring out. We do not need the fishtail cutter on this job, so I can turn that off. And I'd say let's deal with the base, but I'm not quite sure how this base is going to, because we're going to have an outside prong coming off. Not quite sure how I want this base to be. Lock, no. I might make it like this size like it normally is and have this prong, this outside prong come down to match it, or I might just make it like really oversized. So the outside prongs are the kind of the support scaffolding, but I think I want to try it first like this. So let's work on getting that gentle slope down to the base. Grab this one, drag him in. If we want to make this a little bit puffy, we can grab that center row of control points and drag it up just a little bit. And that has kind of a nice shape to it. From this side, I think we bring this out a little bit. No, we bring the bottom in a little bit. Okay. So I think that's good. I'm going to turn off the head control and then move on to prongs. And I need those to be, so I turned this one on. Let's turn this one on. All of them on. You all can be on. Okay. So this point is my quad. And there's a mirror across there. So if I just bring this in, that should give me both of those prongs right there. And then these guys, I'm just going to say array polar off of 0, 4 copies, 360 degrees. And that'll give me all of my double prongs. We need to make them taller. So I'm going to turn the points off on for this surface and bring that down. Down to the base, and we can't make it match all the bases because of so we're just gonna chop off these. We'll try and remember to bring this in with us to 3D coat next time. But and then I'm not going to worry about where that ends up right now, because there is there's a lot more that we got to figure out before we start. That is intersecting about 1/3 of the prong. That prong, okay. So I'm going to replace this block. Replace block. Instead of using my thread set, I'm going to use the prong set one because it has a prong set cutter. Excuse me. Has a prong set cutter, so I can see how that's going to interact with that. Now I normally have this rail be right here, so to kind of protect the girdle of the stone. I don't need that for this model because you've got all this, like all this stuff is going to be around the girdle, so it doesn't need it. So I can find that control curve, select object here. Select object, not that one. Oh. There's got to be one here, though. Okay. So I'm going to delete this one. That was the original control. And I'm going to promote this curve to the control layer. And then I can either bring it down so it's not in the way as much. See, right now it's going to be in the way of these stones. Bring it down seems like a good idea. And that way it won't be in the way of these girdles. All right, the next thing I have to decide is, do I like the angle all of these guys are at? And I don't think so. I think I've got them angled too much. I think I want them a little bit more face up. So that was this. And I do think I should have whatever this angle is should match this angle. So I'm going to try and get this back to try and get it back up to straight up and down so I can use a numerical number to rotate it. And I think the easiest way is to say rotate off of 0 from that 45 to here. And then from that front view, rotate from there back up straight up and down, and then put it back into place, rotate off of 0 back to that negative 45, and then do the same thing with this one, rotate off of there. Okay, so now they're sitting straight up. We definitely don't want them sitting straight up. Let's try 15 degrees going. Yep, it's going that way, so 15 degrees. And let's try this one at 15 degrees. Align to object, 15 degrees. And then we can align to C-plane and drag this back in. So it's just touching those prongs. And then move along 45. Move from I want to snap off of 0, come out here, and then move align the C-plane, drag up, drag up. Maybe I just move this control down some more. So I want it to be, I want this stone, like when I'm looking at it, I don't need to see these guys anymore. I want it to take a bite out of that. I'm going to relocate this gumball. So relocate, come down here to about there. That way I can move this in. We will still have plenty of space between those stones, so there's no collision. And this guy, relocate gumball. I want to draw a circle just to see like how round this whole thing is going to be when I'm done. And I need to make it above everything else so I can see it. Okay, so this is sticking out. Let's just see what it looks like. Let's scale this out to match the edge of that, and let's see what this looks like with this coming out. Oh. I think I like that better. These prongs don't need to be as big since how we have 8 of them. They don't need to be 1.1. So let's go to the control for those. And right now they're 1.1. Let's take it down to make sure lock is on. Lock is on. Let's scale that from 1.1. Oh, we need to go down. So 1.1 divided by 1.1. Scale that down and do the same for the base. Same amount. And same amount. And then let's make this have a little more of a they're not touching. So I can bring all of these guys in a little bit more. And my gumball is still relocated, so I can bring that in until it touches, because we're going to need that. Going to need to undercut there for it to be set. And it doesn't need to be much because you can't get under this girdle to flick it out. The front prong needs a good bite into it. The back prongs, it just needs something to rest into, so it doesn't need to be in there by much. Now I kind of wish the stone was bigger. I did that layout while they were at the counter, like what stones I thought would fit best. I mean, I can always make that bend. Get the whole control point row. I can always make it bend out like that. I can always make the bottom bend out. You know, it just needs to touch. It doesn't, and that'll give a better bite for that back stone. And we've got a roundish shape. Okay, I think that is fine. You know, I brought this prongs outer in, but I don't think I want it. I think I'd rather copy and paste and reuse these because I have more control over this shape with my newer prong. So I'm going to turn lock off and delete this prongs outer. Yes, and this old prong flow, delete that. Yes. And just grab like, let's turn stuff on here. This is flowing around here. That flows to there. But I do need 2 more prongs and then 1 more prong. So I want to make sure all of this is on for these prongs. Grab that and that. Grab that. Grab that. And everything should be on. So if I copy and paste, oh, I just did something. Paste. Okay. So with lock on, I want to move, undo paste. I'm going to hide all of this so I can move stuff one at a time. These guys I want to move out. Sorry. Undo paste. Show everything. I want this and this. This and this. And all of that. Copy. Hide. Paste. Okay. I want to move these guys out, which will move those out. I want to move these. There's a mirror plane here, so I want to move that over by like 15. Update it all. Okay, now turn everything back on. So that way I have these guys that need to be just right there, but smaller and like down. That's roughly where they're going to be. They are going to set the marquee shapes. So the marquees bite into the back of these prongs, and then these prongs are going to be kind of going towards there, which I could just like rotate this a little bit and it will face more towards there. But it needs to be smaller and shorter. So take that, points on, and just bring that up to kind of the same level that one is. Same thing, array polar for 360. And then the size of these. Oh, hide those. I'm working on these. Okay. I could have renamed this. I should have renamed it, but it's too late now. If I rename it and paste it in, the original name will get pasted in and the rename name will stay there. So then I'd have two layers and I could turn off, like I originally planned on saying like prongs center and prongs outer. It's what I should have done. I didn't do it. Is it worth doing now? The one problem with doing all this history stuff, you really got to think through. Oh, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but hello, Juzen? Sari? I am thinking for a minute about this. Thanks, dude. I kind of get the feeling that I want to go back in time and one, it's an important thing to show like how to, like one of the benefits of copy paste history is, so I'm going to go just to for the paste. All right. And I'm going to change the name on this. And that's why you see a Z in some of the templates. Like when I drag it in, I can change this after the fact to just seat. But if I had another seat already in the file and I bring this in, I don't want it to put it on the same seat layer as the other seat. So I just put Z. So I'm just going to change this to Z before I paste. And so now I have prong Z, which is the original one, and prong center, which is really the prongs outer, because this is the copy coming in, and this is going to be prongs. Oh, I didn't do it with the layout. Undo paste. Okay, this I can go ahead and say is outer. This is the flow. That's the flow underneath layout. And this one is going to be, I'll just say outer one, and we know that's the real outer. And then when I paste this in, now I've got another layout that is prong Z, and I want to replace that Z with outer. That's the outer flow. Oh, I renamed this wrong. I really wish I did not run out of coffee today. Center and outer. Okay. So now instead of having to hide everything like I was doing, I can just say, all right, we'll turn the center ones off. These are the outer ones. And I can move those out, and those are the outer ones. And same for down here. These are the outer. Oh, God. Outer. And these are the center. And so I can turn that off, and then, and this is all silly because I just copy pasted them. They're exactly the same. So I could have named either one of these the right thing, and it would have been fine, but okay. So now if I have the center ones turned off, which I do, then when I grab these, that's going to be the outer ones. When I grab these, it's only going to be one set of that copy and pasted history. So now I can move that 15 over. And to further keep them apart, I have this recolor script, so I can say prongs outer, and I can just change those to a different color. We can make those purple. Okay, so now when I turn on prongs center, I can turn off the controls and curves and just leave the surface on and leave it locked so I don't accidentally touch it. And the same thing for this one. I can lock this. No, not that one. Prong center, I can show it but lock it so I can see where these guys are in relation to these, but this is no longer clickable. Okay. So looking at this, turn the junk off, and I don't want to lock the curve because I want to see the size of it. I need these to go down in size quite a bit, and I also don't want to have this triangular shape on it anymore because I can rotate it that way, but even then I want these to be pretty much round. Round and smaller. So we will grab this and the point in the middle and this, because that point is the loft that it comes to. That point is that point. So if I move this point down, you'll see this seam move over. I want to make sure lock is on. Yes. And I want to scale this down. Let's say 0.9 over 1 point. I don't even remember what it was. 0.05. It doesn't matter. We need to make it smaller. That did both of those top ones, and then we just need to do the same for here. Scale down, and we need to do the same for here. Scale down. Okay, so that will make those a little bit skinnier. We need to drop the height. So that is this guy. Turn points on. Actually, we can scale the whole thing because it needs to go smaller top and bottom. Bring that down some more. Scoot that in. Want it touching there and then going to angle that way. So we can rotate this a little bit. Actually, I don't want that because I don't want to, from the top, I want these prongs to kind of bend in a little bit. Yeah, I want them to bend in from the look of the top. That's an annoying thing about using flow curve. It keeps changing where on that curve it's flowing. But yeah, I want those to bend in, and I may do that same thing to the parent curve, the inner prongs, the center prongs as well. Such a small movement, big change. Okay. And then let's round those prongs out so they're not so triangular. So if I'm wanting to make them round, then I need to do stuff like this. It's kind of roundish. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. Sometimes my templates laugh at me. Okay, and now let's move this over. Just turn off base. Oop, a little too much. Small movement, big adjustment. Okay, that will trap that point. Array polar 0, 4, 360, done. And then we need one final prong on the outside, which I think this is a fine shape to do for that one as well. So you can just take like this and copy it. Rename this outer inner. Now I'll reuse the same layer for that, but this guy, I want to set turn lock off and then set the X to 0. And then I'm just going to, because this is on this plane, I don't feel a need to like make an adjustment layer. Like I like editing stuff flat, but this is already flat in one view, so I don't feel the need to do that. Let me think. I do want to bring these into that base though, and I don't think I have enough control points to do this. So I am going to rebuild this. Okay, so right now it is 1, 2 in that direction. We want to keep that, but this one, let's just take it to 3, 4, maybe 5. So that I have more control with bringing this in, but leaving the top. This is what bend is for. So I want the top to stay in place, and I want to say bend like that. That is way too much bend. Bend like that. More than that. You like that much? And this one, I think 3.5 was too much. I think 3.4 would have been better. Rebuild 3.4. Then this one, and bend that. And then our blue prongs, prong center, unlock that. I've got mirror on, so I don't want to do the history one. Rebuild 3.4. White's on. Bend that. Be able to catch both of those prongs, or both of those stones with the back side of this. I'm really not a fan of how it uses flow to get from there to there, because if I change the bottom of it, it changes where it thinks it is on this curve. I wish it would like fix to this point where they intersect, but it's not. It's the they're using this, like this is what they're using to do that. So if this gets wider, that center point moves, And, you know, this is a quad, this is 45 degrees, this is another quad. So there's not a lot of space in here. When I move this, the whole thing moves. I guess I could make this have more space between it so that a small change, delete this cage, so that a small change doesn't result in a big change over there. That might work. Okay, and then this guy back over to like there. And I think I need to make this, the inner prongs a little bit wider to take up some of that space. And then the bottom of this one, I want to have that tuck in more to be part of. Kind of all meet right there. I don't know. I'm just kind of, I don't know exactly what I want to happen. This is kind of a weird joint that I've never made before. So I'm going to go ahead and put this all the way around so I can look at it from a different point and see if I like it. So you just kind of have that little basket of prongs coming out here to touch. And then there's that little pinch shank. Oh, that little pinch shank had history on it, so when I imported shank open, it updated it. Doggone it. So now I've got two of them. Copy paste history things. Oh, I'll have to go find the reference shank in a second. But it's going to come up and pinch to there. Can this whole thing move down? Is it too tall? This ring is a little ovally. I can fix that. But I'm starting to wonder if I made it a little bit too tall. Might have made this thing too tall. Five and a half millimeters. It's not that big of a deal to change the height on it. Just grab head control. This guy, I think, this guy, I just say down minus 0.5. I broke history on this, so that needs to go down minus 0.5. Okay. This prong and this prong points on. Just grab the top. Let's see. Hide that. Just grab these guys and say minus 0.5. Then the stone layout. Grab those, minus 0.5. This weird reference thing can go away. And then this prong. Points on. Five. Not the one I thought I was working on. Okay, I feel like I'm just fiddling and not getting anything done. But I'm really kind of, I don't know if this is supposed to look this way. Having one of those moments. So that's not round. Let's fix that while I'm looking at it. We can go to ghosted view and just grab both of those and bring them out until we get more of a round feeling. All right, I think I like that better. That's more round now. Our center prongs, we can... Oh, they need to be a lot taller than they are. That's not quite biting a third. It's biting more than a third. And now we're not touching the back of it. Oh God, this is painful. Oh, we can always just make them bigger. I think we just make them bigger. What's with all the weird rings? I don't know what to do on stuff I've never seen before. But I feel like I'm just fiddling and not actually getting anything done. That is my go-to when I'm not sure what to do. I just start fiddling instead of taking a walk and figuring out a game plan and then coming back. And I don't know if I like these prongs coming all the way down because we're going to put seats, this same kind of seat on these guys. And then what do we need these blue prongs coming down for? I don't think it's necessary. So let's turn all the prongs off. Stop looking at them because we're not getting anything accomplished. Okay, and let's look at these guys. I want to grab this curve, copy, paste, and then move it over here, and let's line it up with these other stones. I want to move, and from that quad to that, and then down. Well, this is a small stone, so that wide to there. Okay, so I'm going to grab that and then trim this off. It's kind of a nasty trim. Added a whole bunch of stuff in there. Do a curve blend. Just tangency. Then do another one to there. Love how a blend updates. Oh, I really don't need this bottom one. Set the X to there. Set the Z to all match and move this in to there. And then I can adjust that. Okay. Yeah, blends suck in Rhino. Continue curve. Want to follow that path until we get to there and then there. Revolve. Turn project off. Curves to revolve that one from that to there. Project back on. So now this and this can go onto the seats. I should probably make another seats layer for the I'll put those onto that layer and we can recolor it because we've already got an orange. Rhino 8 is supposed to have like a random color, random layer colors, which I think is going to work out really nice. Let's go there. And then that goes onto surf. Okay, so we can flow that flow curve rigid without stretch. No. This flow rigid, flow surf rigid from there to there. What? I said flow rigid. I'm gonna grab those children and delete that. I'll say flow rigid from there to there. Oh, this is not the same size as that one. Damn it. Okay, what's the length on this? 3. 2.036. Okay. 3 divided by 2.036. I think that's what it was. That's enough. Okay, now does that touch our center rail? It does not. So we need to make the center rail a little thicker. So we don't want to make it taller, but we do want to make it thicker. Let me go ahead and get this to match as well. Length on that is 3. And then length on that is 2.036. So same thing as last time. Are these at the same height? Okay, now those two touch. And then we just need to make a seat for this one, have it touch as well. I think I need a break for 5 minutes, stretch my legs, and then think about what all's going on here. You guys have any questions before I take a break? Yeah, I don't think these blue prongs need to come all the way down. I think they just need to come down to the bottom of that. So that I will change, make these blue prongs fatter. So it'll capture the base, and I need to make a base for those. Okay, let's say 5 minutes. Yeah, give me 5 minutes. I'm gonna stretch my legs and think for a second before I keep going with this. But should be able to finish this up in like 10 minutes once I make sure that this is how I want to do it. All right, be right back. Put this back up. All right, all right, all right. So I think I need to not make those tall. And I need to make a seat for that. Let's make a seat for that first. So I'm going to grab this seat and I'm going to copy it, paste it, and throw it over here. Where are we? Throw it over there. And we can turn the points on for that. I wonder how array polar deals with this. I'm not array polar. Polar surf. What is it called? Revolve. Copy, paste, move there to there. I'm kind of curious. I'm going to turn project off and then say, oh, do I have a rail? There's a rail in there. Okay. Rail revolve. Select the profile curve, that guy. Select the rail curve, that guy. And the revolve axis. Let's look at that. That's not bad. So we're matching the... Oh, we need to... We're overdoing it on that. Still overdoing it. Let me turn the cutters off so I can see the gem better. Wait, why is this up here, but this is down here? Okay, so that's interesting about rail revolve. The rail has to be on. Interesting. I don't use that command enough. Let me do this. Let me offset. Didn't I say offset? Let me offset this curve loose. Just by like 1/10. Okay. And then it's going to give me a sharp in the corner, but I think that's fine. And I'm going to set the Z on that to... Oh, I got to turn lock children off. Set the Z on that to there. Is this stone not flat? It's not flat. How did that happen? Wow, it's not flat in this direction either. So this started out as just me doing a rough sketch while somebody was at the counter to figure out stone sizes. So I guess I just tried doing this by hand in space and then said, nah, I'm going to do this. All right, so we can fix this up. So I need to turn project back on. Well, project back on. Grab there, move that up. So on all of my blocks, I have points. So I can literally turn the gem off and just look at these points. Hide that. Okay. Oh. So this point, I can just move it down to there and then move it from... This is not having project on. I have project on. Move down to there for a second. And then I'm going to rotate off of there, make that flat, rotate. Okay, that's lined up now. And then move that back there up to there. Okay, now when we turn the gems back on, we should see, still looks a hair off. But that's close enough. So for this, I'm going to delete that and do it again. Yeah, we're still not right. Point. Rotate. Point. Point. Oh, it's not. I'm going to grab a mesh vertex and another mesh vertex. Do that. Now rotate that off of. Do the same for this view. And now move that from there back to here. That's still off. It's close enough, but that's weird. I should be able to get it just with those 2 points, I would think. Because those 2 points, they're right on top of each other. But they're not. Why? Projected point. I bet the near snap was messing me up. Okay, so now they're all. I was telling somebody this the other day. If I have near turned off, it feels bad, and if I have it turned on, it feels bad. I never have center vertex on because I do those as one shot vertex, one shot center, one shot between, and one shot along line. So I never keep those guys on, but near, like Alt will turn off Smart Track. Like if you hold down Alt, it'll turn off Smart Track for a second. If I had a button to turn down to turn near off, I would use it constantly. I would dedicate a whole button on my mouse to it. Okay. So now we need to put this back where it should be. That's the ground plane. I want to move it up to the ground plane. I think that's where it was, which puts that there. That needs to go in. Offset loose. Take that edge. Lock children no, and we're going to set the Z on that to there. And let me turn the other one on so I can just make sure. Okay, so this stone and this stone, are they at the same height? Yes. This and this, is it at the same height? Yes. Okay. So now that I have this down here, let's try that rail revolve again. Rail revolve, select the profile rail. That's going to be here. Up. And the start axis, I'm going to turn project off and grab that end and that end. Okay. I got a lot of daylight in there. So it's going with these points. It's like so weird. Leave those points on and set the Z on this to that. It gets taller. So what is it basing this on? Where's the height coming from? Now it's below. Now it's kind of matching. That is very weird. Like, I don't know how to adjust the height on this to match that. And you can't really just move. See, that's making it match there, but not match there. And just squeeze that in until this matches up with that. Okay, I don't want to see this right now. I don't know. Sometimes I just do this like a command that I don't really use. Just play with it for a bit to see like what affects things. Where is our... This is our rail guy. Very strange command. That made it go taller. Why does it make it go taller? So strange. Where's that curve? Okay, what if I rebuild it? Because right now it's 4 separate curves. I believe if I explode it, it'll be 4 separate curves. But I'm going to rebuild it. And we're just going to do like 316. Preview. Okay. All right. All right. So I'll put this onto our... I can just rename that to Seat Smelly. I don't know why I was thinking I would have different layers for this. Those are already on, so just this needs to go into control. Okay, so that is that. Huh. All right. What about this direction? Yeah, we need to scale it. And I can see where it's overlapping. So it's not overlapping here. It's not overlapping on the point. Now it's overlapping just on the keel of the stone. And it's overlapping there. And then not overlapping in the middle. So just a weird command. I don't know if I normally would have done this as a sweep 1 and then just left a hole in the center. But then I would have needed a profile curve over here to capture the difference in the angle between the keel and the rest of the pavilion. You know, it's quite a steep angle here, and it's a little bit shallower there. Oh, and these are sapphires, so they're going to have deep bellies. So I might as well go ahead and reduce all of that. I mean, my stone is based on a diamond, but these are sapphires. So big bellies, big bellies. Save my setter from having to hog out a lot of metal there. Okay, enough with enough of the distraction. So we are going to flow surf from there to there. Why is that taking so long? Oh, flow rigid. Flow rigid from there to there. And then polar array that. 0, 4, 360. Okay, make our blue prongs shorter, prong center. This guy points on. We're just gonna reset this shape a little bit. So I'm just gonna grab all of those and say set X and Y to this front edge. And I'm gonna grab the back side, set X and Y to that. Because we had them bending and doing all kinds of stuff, but we really just want them to be and then I can set the Z on these to all match up because we don't really want prongs outer or off right now. So when I'm looking at prong center, control, and curves, that'll be these guys. And I think I just want to make the base bigger. So I'm gonna grab these, make sure lock is on, and scale 2D, let's say 10% larger, 15% larger. I want to be fat at the bottom so there's enough overlap here. And I'll do the same for this one. Okay, so I'm just making them a little bit fatter at the base without having to make them fatter at the top. That way, from the top, they'll, you know, after the setter bends them and trims off the excess and rounds them over, they will be, they won't look as making it fat at the bottom and skinny at the top, it'll look like a skinny prong. It won't take away from the look of it. Okay, and I reset this shape. So I just need to bring this in a little bit so it matches up with the seat. That's enough for it to bite into. Do I want to change the top shape at all? Okay, I'm digging that. I think that'll work. Trim off that excess prong when we get into 3D coat. So without those blue prongs, these three are the only ones making a connection point. So I'm thinking if I have them all come to a point, that may not be strong enough, versus if I open this up a little bit, then I've got a much wider pillar supporting this whole thing. That'll be a wider connection to this base rail because it's now supporting the whole head instead of just the outside shapes. In fact, why don't I make this whole bottom rail bigger so it doesn't have to tuck in as much. I don't know if that'll make it look better or worse, but I can grab this and say scale 2D and just try it real quick. Let's make it 15% bigger. That 15% bigger, and then that wouldn't have to 5% smaller. Now I'm trying to imagine once I chop off the bottom of those prongs. I think this needs to come out more. Maybe a little bit more. And this top layer, just a little bit more than the bottom. Yeah, I think next video I'm going to redo this head template so it's a little bit less convoluted. Okay, I think the head is done. So we just need to redo the pinch shank and oh, I messed up that that reference shank that they liked. So I'm just going to okay, so I'm going to grab this reference shank and I'm going to break history on it, break history, copy, and then paste it in here. And now we can just lock this reference layer just to make sure that we're kind of doing the same thing. But to make the shank longer, just come over here and change the amount of stretch on this flow. And we need to get it up to about there. And then we need to make it taller and angle it just a bit to match up with that prong. So the shank width at the bottom is fine, which means let's go here to shank open and turn off control. Oh, turn off junk. Grab this top one, set lock to no, and make it taller, and then turn lock back on. So we need to make it much taller and then pinch in. Soften this inside shape, soften that curve right there. All right, and then go to shank profiles and scooch this up so it makes that transition a little faster, and then make this a little bit longer so it captures that bottom prong just a hair. And then I need to make this a little bit of a transition where I come up just a hair, lock off, lock on, and make that a little skinnier. I'm going to use 3D Coat to fill all this in and make that transition a little more full, but unlock our reference layer and grab that and look at it. So it needs to be skinnier all the way through. Huh, it's a little skinnier too. Lock off, skinny, lock on. What I should have done is just taken this, isolate it, line from midpoint, find out where this is, and just kind of captured that shape. That was weird when somebody says they want the exact same shank as on this ring. And then I feel like I have to make it exact, but it's really just you're trying to capture the do I not have project on? I did not. All right, so set that over to here somewhere. Turn off reference and grab this and that. Okay. So I'm just a little too big in the middle. So just another small adjustment here. Oh, you know what? This is always fun. I can just say move from here to there. And now I'm matching. Okay. Show everything. Mirror this to the other side. All right, we're going to turn off everything on layout. What is this? That is nothing. That was, we just used that for a second. We used this to see if we kind of had a circle shape, which we did. That can go on trash now. This can go in the trash now. I think this is done. So this is a little bit ovally. I don't like it. I want it to be a little bit more round, which means take these two, That'll help tie in with the shank better. That'll tie in better. If anything, I could take the bottom layer and drag that back just a little bit to match up with the... I just want everything to flow together. And flow is very hard to define. You know it when you see it. All right. I'm saying that's done. Turn on our sprue. Now I have to save this, and I don't want to show customer names on stream. So I'm going to hit the BRB, save this with history, and then I'll come back and break all the history and get it over to 3D Coat. And I'm going to call that a day. The other two CAD jobs we have, this Emerald Cut 3 Halo thing, and what was our other one? Oh, that exit. No. And this we'll pick up tomorrow. I'll stream again tomorrow and do this kind of this dealio. I don't want to put a round right there on the point. I'm kind of don't know what to do about this ring either. We'll do those two tomorrow. But I have fiddled way too much with this because I didn't know. If I know what to do, I'm very fast at it. If I don't know what shape I'm going for, I'm kind of slow and piddly. Just make meaningless changes over and over and over again until I find the shape, until I think about what it should be, and then I can go quick again. Okay, so I'm going to save this. Okay, so I save this. Just going to isolate this. I need my finger base. I'm going to turn lock children. I don't need the... So lock children off. I'm going to cap it, which will stop history from flowing on this. So now I can make it... I make it smaller because when I bring it into 3D Coat as voxels, it's recording cubes. So volume matters. If this was a mesh, this size versus this size doesn't matter a whole lot. But when you're talking about it's filling this thing with 1 by 1 by 1 cubes, volume matters. It will slow things down quite a lot. So I just make it big enough for what I need and no bigger. And then I'm going to put this onto a layer like cutters. I'm sure I have a cutter. I'll put it on the fishtail layer. So then I can turn all the layouts off, and I do need cutters on for going to... oh, fishtail is being used by the blocks. It's on one of the... Here, never mind. And okay, I thought I was going to put all the blocks on this, but I now do not like doing that because when I turn layout off, I lose all my blocks. select block instance, and we're going to put those onto change layer gems. So I think this whole blocks layer needs to go underneath gems, not here. Oh, fishtail isn't being used because I swapped that out to prong set. It started out this was a fishtail cutter, but I changed it to a prong cutter. Okay, so now I can turn layout off. I've got all my stuff. Next is the shank. Lock, just to be sure, lock is off, and we join that and then cap it. Select open. That is open. Darn it. I did not see that coming. Where is it open? I didn't break history on this yet, so I wonder if these points just happen to be slightly off. So I'm going to say set X and Y. And I'm going to move it out of the way first, and then I'm going to set X and Y and make sure I snap on that point. So if I move this over and then say set X and Y to this point, history doesn't update. What if I jiggle this? Will it update then? No, that just breaks history on it. So let's see. I can do it one at a time. I can say set X and use that to snap on, set Y and use that to snap on, unable to transform one object. And we still got the hole there. Okay, so rail revolve is going out of the bag of stuff that I use again. That's probably why I never used it before, and probably why I'll never use it again. So we can turn all this off. Lock off, points on. Points on, where I lost. Okay, and then we just switch over to this and grab all those points and say X, Y to here, and then do that again, but actually put it on the center. Okay, now that'll be a closed surface, and these will all be closed surfaces. So going back to this, isolate, select open surfaces, no open surfaces. We're ready for 3D coat. So I'm going to export to 3D coat. And just say file new, don't save. And I'm just going to start with a blank canvas so I don't have to do voxel sculpting with a blank canvas. And I can just drag and drop this into the scene. Reset access, reset space, scale 2250. Import as child is already clicked. Apply. Yes, fill. And let me get with the white column. Okay, so we do have symmetry all the way around. We could do polar or XY. Gems, we're going to make those white, turn them off. Cutters for the seats. We do want to kind of score the prongs to give our setter a view of level. So he kind of knows where level is when he goes to cut prongs. And we do want to cut these seats just in case there's any overlap. Fishtail is that guy. We can turn that off for now. Turn our sprue off. Shank, seats. All right, we'll go ahead and merge seat with shank. And I think I just want to merge. Oop. I don't know what I just did. Merge with shank. Merge with shank. I wonder if you can like shift click and get two at the same time and then say merge with shank. Yeah, you can. Okay. So you can shift click and 3D coat. That's good. And then the seat cutters, I'm going to copy and subtract from shank because I might want to do it again. Don't know yet. And same thing for the finger rail cutter. I'm going to copy and subtract from shank, and I may do it again, so I will save it. Now we turn symmetry on, X and Y. I think I want to work in X and Y because this is longer than over here. So if I did a polar, it may not work out as good. Yeah. Okay. So I've got the fill brush on, and I'm just going to fill this in. Yep. So what is that? What is that? That is that. Okay. I wish I would have seen it earlier, but I can just do a scrape and just knock this down a little bit. If I saw it earlier, I would have knocked this down before I booleaned them together, but I can just kind of make it what it needs to be. No sense in going back to it. Oh, fill. And do the same over here. This is where polar symmetry would be better. I could just do this once, but I'll do it twice. Okay, looking at it from the bottom, I want to take a big fill brush and smooth this out. I want to smooth that down and smooth that down and fill, and just alternate between knocking some of the height down and adding height so we get this fluid transition between the two. Same thing over here. And I generally fill before I knock down. See, it leaves you with a hump that's easy to knock down after you fill, but if you knock down first, you don't get the same hump. So you can't raise it up as high, but you're trying to average out the surface thickness as you go. And I said I was going to close this in. So I will close it in from the back side, and then from the front, I'll worry about what the outside of it looks like. Can I see? I can see that. How do I see the base of it? Oh, through here. And then from this side, take a big fill brush, close that in. Wish there was a clipping plane. Then we give this a little bit of meat, so when it's growing, it'll have a little bit of transition there before it goes to that flat. Although this is a kind of silly, it's overhanging. I'm definitely going to have to put a support tip there when I print this. Okay, now we worry about what the outside looks like. So I'm going to lower the fill brush to not be as aggressive. We want to not have a knot on the finger, so we'll take that down. So this is kind of lumpy. So once I get enough height in it, I'll use smooth to make it not be lumpy. So start with fill, smooth. We're going to fill this in. That feels like my thing stuttered. And smooth that down a little bit. That felt jumpy. It's making it lumpy. Let me just focus in here. All right. I think that's good. I'm going to go back to our seat cutters. And I'm going to smooth these a couple of times. Smooth all. And then I'm going to subtract back from our thing. So that's scored. I just need to make sure that it didn't overcut my center prongs, and it's nowhere near a third of the way through. So it's close. They're scored a little bit more than I'd like, which I can always fill that back in. This is just to show the setter where level is. So when I want him to cut the prongs himself to match the stone. If I overcut it, then if the pavilion angle and the girdle angle, the pavilion and table angles are different than standard, I want him to be able to cut it, but I give him this line so he can get the stone flat. Without that line, he's having to eyeball where to cut these prongs. And he could cut this side a little shorter than this side, and then when he sets it, the table of the stone is going to run downhill. So this is just a level marker. Like, cut here if you want to be able to set this properly. And he can see that this is where you cut, and this is where you cut, and then when you put it in there, it will be a flat stone. But you don't want to overcut, I promise you. All right, that looks done. So Turn symmetry off. Turn the stones on. I forgot to change. It's more easy. The camera angle is better like that, but for the picture, I have it like that. I forgot to change it back. Well, no, this is take a picture. Adding it to the job right now. Okay, and turn those off. Turn the sprue on. Give this thing a smooth all 1, 2, and then we switch over to surface mode and 98 for the sprue and 90 for the ring. Wireframe mode and make sure we got enough triangles. And here you can see we've got big triangles for that flat, but when it goes around this curve, they get really tiny. Okay, just 1 second while I save this file. Okay. So now that is done. And I think that I'm going to call it here for today. I think I just have a caffeine headache from not having my coffee. So, and it's after 4. So that's enough for one day. I've got the 2 models tomorrow. Again, those are, I'm reminding myself and you, this thing, which looks fun, and this thing, a triple halo, which looks even funner. Oh, this looks fun. So that is where we'll leave it for today. You guys have any questions or comments before we end stream here? Any reason not to blend it in Rhino? So I'm sorry I wasn't looking at comments earlier. Any reason not to blend it in Rhino? So I've talked about this a lot with 3D Coat, but the reason I would not do any of these blends that I just did in here in Rhino is I did it with 1, 2, 3 strokes of a pen versus half an hour of trying to get something watertight with a blend in Rhino. It's just much faster to do fillets. Like I can look at a fillet in Rhino and go, that's going to work, no problem. Boom. Or I can look at a fillet in Rhino and go, 99.9% chance of failure. So my threshold is if there is a 25% chance of failure, I don't even try it in Rhino. Like, why waste the time? And then blending like 2 separate bodies together in Rhino, never. I will never attempt to do that. I will just come over here to 3D Coat and do it. I wish that was blended a little bit better. Like that. So yeah, that's my threshold. If I can do it in Rhino in less than 5 minutes with a 75% chance of success, I do it in Rhino. Any longer than 5 minutes, well, I blended all of these separate bodies together in 7, 8 minutes. So yeah, it's just a time thing. I don't like doing things that have like a 50-50 chance of success or failure, because I'm not going to gamble my time on 50-50 chance of it being a waste. 75%, 25%, you know, 3 to 1 is kind of where I go, okay, I'll risk wasting my time with that. All right. That was a different little ring to make, but I'm good with it. So call in stream there, and I will be back tomorrow.